Hello, hockey fans, and welcome to part 5 of our look at the great Peter Stastny. It's been quite the journey so far. In part 1, we journeyed through his emergence as a star in his native Czechoslovakia. 2 World Championship golds, 2 silvers, an Olympian, a finalist in the first Canada Cup, and winning a championship for his team, HC Bratislava. And we covered his epic escape from his communist-ruled nation, defecting to Canada along with brother Anton, and signing a huge deal with the Quebec Nordiques. He became an instant sensation and immensely popular with the fans in La Belle Province. Along with brother Anton, became one of the handful of players to reach 8 points in a game. And they also set NHL record with 14 points over the course of 2 games. A very unique record at that. That year, he won the Calder Trophy as league's top rookie and helped a lowly team with his teammates and other young talents make a playoff appearance. In addition, Stastny set the rookie scoring record with 109 points. In part 2, we looked at his epic 139-point sophomore season, setting a European scoring record that stood for many years, where he and Anton were joined by older brother Marian. Their brothers Stastny, along with youngsters Michel Goulet, Dale Hunter, and veteran goalie Dan Bouchard, led the Nords to their first winning record, and fandom was chaotic. And then it was a miracle run all the way to the conference final of the playoffs, where Peter played well despite missing most of the first round. The following year, in 82-83, he finished second in league scoring, but the Nords didn't really improve much, and again, they didn't really get worse. And brother Marian, however, suffered a devastating injury towards the end of the season, and he didn't make it past the first round. Then last season, Peter was again superb, reaching 100 points for the 4th straight time, finishing 4th in league scoring, and leading the Nordiques to their first ever 40-win season and their best regular season ever. They shocked Buffalo with a 3-game opening round sweep, but then an upstart underdog Habs team stunned them in 6 games, culminating in the infamous Good Friday Massacre brawl, which saw Peter take a nasty shot from Mario Tremblay and lost his cool in a fight with Mike McPhee, saw him being ejected. Critics got on Peter for his actions, saying his anger, while valid, may have cost his team in the end when they really needed him the most. But the Nords still looked like a team on the rise, and they're ready to shake off the frustration of that exit and persevere. And that's what Peter is all about, perseverance. But before we begin his 5th season in the NHL, Peter Stastny actually returned to the international ranks. Surprising, you say? Well, that's because it was as a member of Team Canada. Yes, that's right. Peter suits up for Team Canada to play in the 1984 Canada Cup. Remember, he represented Czechoslovakia at the first ever Canada Cup in 1976. Both he and Marian, as a matter of fact, and were finalists. And also, Coach Glenn Sather was interested in Marian to play for the country as well, but he couldn't due to lingering issues with injuries. And joining him was teammate Michel Goulet. They were among the 14 future Hall of Famers that donned the white and red. Canada was looking sluggish, however, much of the tournament. They were 1-1-1 going into a game against Czechoslovakia. This was a huge game for Peter. Tension was running high, no doubt. He was playing against a nation where some had deemed him and his brothers as traitors. Peter, however, didn't rise to it. He stayed focused and played the game. In a memorable moment for him, he is breaking free from the defense when on the wing, Oilers superstar Glenn Anderson saw him moving towards the net. He made a beautiful pass to Peter, who made an amazing move on goalie Jaromir Slindell, fooling him and getting a goal en route to a 7-2 win. A huge moment for our hero. Along with that goal, Peter had 2 assists in the tournament, overall for 3 points, as Canada found a way to stun the Soviets with an epic OT victory in the semifinals, then went on to sweep Sweden 2-0 in a best-of-3 final, winning the Canada Cup. Peter Stastny, Canada Cup champion. What a way to begin the season. And now we're set to begin the 1980-45 NHL season, as oddsmakers do indeed think the Nordiques are capable of staying a winning team and on the rise, thinking that they can achieve more success. But can they really? Brothers Anton and Marian had to deal with injuries last season. And as the Battle of Quebec with the Habs intensified last year, some wonder if the Nords can gain some ground in the hated rivalry. General manager Maurice Fillon felt the team was pretty intact and made a few additions, and all things considered, it did look great still. And yeah, no need to make too many moves in the offseason, at least major ones. Michel Bergeron felt that they had a really good system to keep building upon, and despite talented defensemen, again, the blue line was always a big question in Quebec in this era. And while their lower line depth is progressing, some wonder if it's strong enough to get to the next level playoff-wise. And while veteran Dan Bouchard is still on the roster and still solid in net, the Nords hope to mold youngster Mario Gosselin at 21 years old. Gosselin represented Team Canada in the Olympics in 1984 and played very well to boot. They hope he's their future star goalie. The Nords will get a little more TV coverage this year, actually. And it's good because people like Stastny and some of his teammates deserve to be showcased on a national scale. As Carling O'Keefe Brewery struck a deal with Canadian network CTV to compete with CBC, and many Nords games will be seen nationally as they air games on Friday nights. As for Peter, like any star player, he faces the world on his shoulders in order to lead his team to a better path as he begins his 5th season. But as always, he's up to the task. But without further ado, easy for me to say, here we go. But Peter actually misses the first 3 games of the season, however, with a minor injury. And the Nords opened the season on the West Coast with a 5-2 win over Tony Tanti and a sinking Canucks club, but dropped 2 terrible humiliating losses to Calgary and defending Stanley Cup champions, the Edmonton Oilers, 7-2 and 9-2, respectively. Yikes. But never fear, Peter is at last here. He makes his return in a home-and-home series with the Buffalo Sabres and looks superb. First, he scored his first goal of the season in a big 4-1 win in their home opener. But in Buffalo, he had 2 assists, but the Nordiques would lose 5-4. Then Peter helped his boys humiliate Vive Salming and the laughable Leafs 12-3 on national TV, but on Hockey Night in Canada. Peter garnered 2 goals and a helper for 3 points and was named 2nd star of the game, shining for the bright lights of Canada. He then scored the lone goal in a 3-1 loss, however, to the hated Habs, went pointless in the next 3 games, neither of which were wins, but got a goal in a 5-3 win over Hartford to end the month. Peter looking pretty good overall, but the Nordiques looking kind of wobbly. November began with a terrible loss, however, to Ray Bourque and the Bruins 7-1, but Peter played very well with a goal and a helper in a 5-4 win over 5-time Cup finalists, the New York Islanders. He went pointless in the next couple games in a 5-3 win over Dale Hawerchuk and an improving Jets team and a 1-0 loss to Ron Francis and the Hartford Whalers. He then had an assist in an overtime loss, but remember, not an official overtime loss, it's still a regular loss in this era, to an improving Kings squad. Then in back-to-back games against the Blues, he had a goal and a helper in a huge 7-3 win, another helper in a 4-2 loss, then a huge victory against Savard Larmer and the Blackhawks in Chicago 5-3. Peter with his best showing so far this month. A goal, 2 assists, 3 points, and a 5-3 win and named 1st star of the game. They also proceed to beat the Hawks at home in overtime, Peter with an assist in a 3-2 win. Then it was a goal and an assist in a huge 8-3 win over a sad-looking Rangers team. He went pointless in a 3-2 OT win over the Rangers in the Big Apple, and then had 2 assists in a 9-2 loss to the powerful Capitals. Yikes. In 12 games for November, Peter had 4 goals, 10 assists for 14 points in 12 games, and a +4. Good numbers, but again, Nordiques are looking decent, but really not as good as they were last year at this point. Then in a truly special night at home against the Whalers to start December on the 1st of the month. In an 8-4 win, the night belonged to the Stastny trio. Marion had been dealing with injuries already this season and actually not playing overly well when he was healthy. But this night was truly his last great game. He notched a hat trick, added 2 assists, 5 points, and was named the game's 1st star. Anton Stastny had a 5-point night as well with 2 goals, 3 assists, and was named 2nd star. And Peter had a goal and 2 helpers for 3 points and was named 3rd star. A clean sweep, the 3-star selections. Quebec fans just love this. And to think about where they were before they all defected from their country to play in the NHL and have a better life, this was truly the last big night for the 3 of them together in pro hockey, as Marion's injury issues continued to hamper him the rest of the season. After an assist each in ties with the Bruins and a powerful Flyers team, he had a goal and 3 assists for a huge 4-point night and a 7-3 win over rookie Kirk Muller and a Dull Devils squad. He now has 11 points in the last 5 games, just above 2. And make that 13 points in 6 games, as he had a goal and a helper in a 4-4 tie with the Sabres. After a 4-3 loss to the crappy Canucks, he had 2 goals in a 5-5 tie with a struggling Bruins squad. The second goal coming with 1:34 remaining to tie it. He would, however, go pointless in losses to the Devils as well as the Capitals. For the next 5 games in a row, he was the Apple Man. He assisted on a Michel Goulet goal in a 5-4 loss to the Red Wings. Then he helped out brother Anton in a 3-1 win over Buffalo. Then in a thrilling win over Chicago, the Nords were trailing 2-1 with 43 seconds left. He beautifully set up brother Anton to tie the game, leading to an overtime win. He assisted Goulet again, this time, however, in a loss to the red-hot Habs. Then, for the first time, Peter went in the face-off circle against the hottest rookie prospect in the game, Mario Lemieux and his lowly Penguins. Lemieux did have a goal, but Quebec won 10-2. Embarrassing the youngster and his club, Peter set up recent acquisition Brent Ashton as the Nords parted ways with Tony McKegney and Bo Berglund to Minnesota. On New Year's Eve, he ended the calendar year of 1984 going pointless in a bit of a rough outing with a 4-4 tie with the Habs, but the Nords are still hovering on a dead-on 500 record. Peter got his boys going in the right direction, however, as they went on a 3-game win streak to start the new year of 1985 in January. He had a goal and assist in a 7-3 win over the Whalers, and then after going pointless in a 5-3 win over the Caps, then a goal and a helper again, this time in another huge win, 8-3 over the Penguins. However, after being shut out by the Oilers at home, the other Albertan club, the Flames, visited Quebec, and Peter had a brilliant game in a 4-0 win. A goal, 2 helpers, 3 points, and a game nationally televised on CTV. Peter again gets the big chance to shine on that national broadcast stage, and indeed shines bright once again. 2 days later, on January 13, 1985, they were set to host the Dead Thing Red Wings. Yep. They had a rising talent such as sophomore center Steve Yzerman and all-star winger John Ogrodnik. After making the playoffs for just the second time in 14 seasons last year, they're not looking too good this year. The game starts, and it's pretty even battle actually early on. However, just past the halfway point of the period, here they come. Marion gets us to Peter, who sets up Anton for the goal and putting the Nordiques on the board first. But the Wings would tie it up 39 seconds later, but just over 4 minutes later, Stastny gets the puck over to Bruce Bell, sets it up for Anton, who scores his second of the game, and Peter gets his second assist of the game and gives the Nords the go-ahead marker, leading 2-1. And then just a mere 25 seconds later, a bad communication in the neutral zone allowed the Wings to cough up the puck to Peter. Big mistake as he scores a beauty, a highlight reel solo effort, and that puts Quebec up 3-1. Our hero has his third point of the game. The period is winding down and Quebec is maintaining control, and with 33 seconds left in the frame, Peter gets over to Anton, who sets up Jean-Francois Sauvé, and Peter has his fourth point of the game in on all 4 goals in just the first period. The Nordiques carry a 4-1 lead in the first intermission. The Wings, however, got the only goal of the second period, and it was 4-2 going into the third, and the period went on with the Wings unable to get closer, and the Nords still protecting their lead. But there's just 1 minute to go as the Red Wings pull their goalie in a desperate attempt to get a couple quick ones. But with 17 seconds left, Cote clears out the puck to an open Peter, who launches it into the empty net, his second goal at 5th point of the game. And indeed, the Quebec Nordiques walk away with the win, 5-2. Count it up. 2 goals, 3 assists, 5 points in on all 5 markers, and was a +5. Another huge performance in front of that hometown crowd that adores him so much. And of course, he was named for star of the game. Brother Anton with his 2 goals and a helper for 3 points, and a +4 was second star, while goalie Richard Sevigny was a third star with 22 saves. After scoring the lone goal in a 2-1 loss to the Habs, he had another huge game at home against the Bruins. He had 2 goals and a helper for 3 points and a 4-3 victory over their division rivals. He now has 12 points in 4 games. That's 3 a game. Peter continued to roll with a goal and a helper, and on both goals in a 2-2 tie with Toronto. Then 2 assists both to Bruce Bell as they edge out the Habs 4-3. He had an assist each in a home and home with Buffalo, a win and a loss respectively, and 2 assists in a 6-5 loss to Boston. Dating back to the game against Calgary, this actually started him on a 9-game point streak. In that time, he had 7 goals, 13 assists for 20 points, just above 2 a game, and a massive +12. February, however, began with a very bizarre happening. During February's second game with the Detroit Red Wings, a brawl erupted between the teams, and Peter dropped the gloves with Steve Yzerman. Yes, that Steve Yzerman. I'm not kidding. Peter was playing a little nasty in this game and actually had 19 penalty minutes. And while it wasn't exactly a brutal fight or anything, I don't want to overstate it too much, that also was enough to give both men 10-minute misconducts with 8:13 left, meaning their night was done pending a probable overtime. But that didn't happen as the Nordiques lost the game 6-3. Peter did get it together, however, with 2 assists in a 5-1 win over the Stars, but was pointless in a 5-4 loss to Montreal. Then, it was a 10-game point streak for our hero. He assisted on a late goal from Goulet to preserve a 2-2 tie with the Devils. Then he had 2 assists both to Alain Cote in a 10-4 win over the Whalers. Despite playing a great game against the Monsters on the Flyers with a goal and 2 helpers for 3 points, the Nordiques lost 6-3. He was named third star of the game. He schooled a young Mario on the Penguins once again, 8-1 with a goal and a helper. He had the same in a tight 4-3 win over a very disappointing North Stars team. He has scored a goal in a crazy 7-6 win over Marcel Dion, Dave Taylor, Bernie Nichols, and a heavily improved Kings squad. Then on a Western road trip to assist a 6-3 loss to the Oilers, and a goal in a 7-5 win over the Canucks. And in LA, he played a beauty with 2 assists, a goal, 3 points, was named second star of the game. Then to begin March, he had an assist in a huge 4-2 win over the Flyers. In this stretch, 6 goals, 12 assists for 18 points in 10 games was a +2. But the Nords went 7-2-1 in this stretch, more importantly. The point streak came to an end in a 6-4 win over the Bruins, which actually put the Nordiques at 33-24-8 for 74 points. After March 5th games were complete, they were in a 3-way tie with the Canadiens and Sabres in the division. All had 74 points, while the Bruins were 10 points behind all of them, a rough year for them in 4th. But the Whalers being so bad, meaning, again, none of these 4 teams are really in danger of missing the postseason. But can the Nordiques finally claim their first regular season division title at long last? Peter caught fire, however, for the next 4 games with 2 assists and a 6-3 loss to the Jets and a thrilling regulation finish with the Flames in Calgary. Went up 2-1 with 4:44 remaining. And with 13 seconds left, Peter and Marwa set up Brent Asher for a goal to preserve the 2-2 tie. Then he had a goal, 2 helpers, 3 points, and an 8-0 win over the North Stars at home. That goal was his 30th of the season, meaning for the 5th straight time in all 5 of his seasons he has reached that mark. He had an assist in a tough overtime loss to the Jets. In this stretch, 1 goal, 6 assists for 7 points in 4 games, but they went 1-2-1, and that puts them at 77 points, which pushes them back down to 3rd place, but still very much in the hunt for 1st. They're still just a point back of the Sabres in 2nd, and 2 back of the Habs in 1st. On March 18, 1985, Peter and his boys took a trip to the fabled Boston Garden. After dominating the Adams division the prior 2 seasons, the Bruins, while still pretty good, are nowhere near as successful as they were the prior 2 seasons, despite bolstering such stars as Raymond Bourque on defense, Rick Middleton up front, but a big loss. Barry Peterson has been out pretty much all season with an injury. But they do have a new factor in Kenny the Rat Linsman, who they obtained from Edmonton and fresh off a Stanley Cup. The North struck first nearly 6 minutes into the first on a Will Paymont goal. Just 1:23 later, Bell starts the rush. He sees Peter breaking up front with Anton, and he puts it on the stick of his younger bro, who scores the goal to put Quebec up 2-0. The Bruins got just 1 back over a minute later, and it was 2-1 as the period was hitting its latter portion. And with 4:27 left in the frame, power play, Peter over to Anton, who sets it up perfectly for Michel Goulet to put Quebec up 3-1. But the Bruins, again, close the gap before the period ends. It's 3-2 going into the second. But then, just 3:30 in on another power play, Sauvé has the puck, but gets to Peter. He's looking for his man, and his man is Goulet. And Peter Stastny, 3rd point of the game, puts the Nordiques up 4-2. Paymont made it 5-2, but Bourque closed the gap to 5-3. But 31 seconds after that, Rochefort clears the puck up to Peter, going in on goal with Goulet, and he sets it up beautifully, giving Michel Goulet a hat trick. Peter, his 4th assist of the game. That puts Quebec up 6-3, and that's how it would stay after 2 periods. But Boston was still trying to stay in and making it 6-4 in the 3rd, but with just under 8 minutes left to play. It's Goulet, it's Anton, it's Peter, his 1st goal of the game, 5th point, and to boot makes it 7-4, putting on another spectacular performance as the Bruins fans give him that old Beantown jeer, but he soaks it in with another epic night. Brent Ashton would add a late goal to give the Nordiques a big 8-4 win. Count it up. A goal, 4 assists, 5 points. He was actually named 2nd star of the game next to Goulet, who got the hat trick and 4 points in total. And Paymont was named the 3rd star with a big night himself. But still, another epic performance on number 26. This is indeed huge going forward. Peter would actually go into a bit of a slump over the next 6 games, which is a goal and an assist over that time. But the North still went 4-2-0 in that stretch, and with 4 games remaining in April, Quebec sat at 39, 28, and 9 for 87 points. And of course their playoff spot is secure, but they now sit just 2 points out of 1st as the Habs hold on to the top spot. But Quebec could still chase it, but the Sabres are also still in the hunt, just 1 point back of Quebec with 86 points. It's going to be a race to the finish line. And it starts out well in April. Peter has 2 assists in a 6-4 win over the Boston Bruins. That also gives him his 5th straight 100-point season in his 5th season, keeping his streak alive and also putting Quebec at 89 points, still one ahead of Buffalo at this time, and now tied for first with the Habs. The Nords have more wins. Can they do it? And no. Sadly, Peter and his crew blew it pretty badly against Montreal in a 7-1 humiliation. Peter then would miss the remaining 2 games of the season, a home-and-home with Hartford, which was a loss to win. They weren't able to obtain a division. But, be that as it may, they finished the season with a very good record of 41, 30, and 9 for 91 points. Good enough for second place in the Adams division. That is still their highest placing yet. Peter, however, will be ready for the springtime, as once again, it's playoff time. And awaiting the Quebec Nordiques in the opening round of the 1985 Stanley Cup playoffs, the Adams Division semifinals, is a rematch from last season of the semifinals, the Buffalo Sabres. Remember, the Nords last season stunned a great Sabres squad in 3 straight. Buffalo finished with a record of 38, 28, and 14 for 90 points, just one back of the Nordiques for third place in the Adams Division. They're still coached by the great Scotty Bowman, but they hope to finally shake off all the playoff disappointments they've dealt with all these years. Despite the talent on their offense, the Sabres had the 7th lowest goal total in the league, while Quebec had the 7th best this season. But they actually gave up the least goals in the entire league, thanks again to a great defensive system and excellent goaltending. But Quebec was no slouch in that department either, giving up the 5th least goals in the league. The Sabres' power play was ranked 8th best. The Nords took a huge drop this season. We're actually the 5th worst power play in the league. And they had the worst of all playoff teams in the league going into it. The Sabres' penalty kill was 2nd best in the league. Quebec's was a decent 10th, but special teams could be the undoing of our hero and his boys. The Nords did edge out the Sabres in the season series, however, with a record of 4-3-1. There's really no clear-cut favorite in this series, but let's see what Peter and co have to contend with. Also, unlike last season, Sabres icon, poster boy, and all-around one of the most skilled players and centermen in the game, Gilbert Perreault is in action for these playoffs. An ageless wonder in his 15th season, all spent with Buffalo in the entirety of their history. 30 goals scored this season, his 4th straight and 10th career 30-goal season. He added 53 assists for 83 points in 78 games. He led the team in scoring for the 12th time in 15 seasons. He was a solid +8, got 8 votes to the Lady Byng Trophy for excellence in sportsmanship, and snowboard he actually won back in 1973. He is well versed in playoff hockey with 95 points in 85 career playoff games, and a cup final appearance in 1975, but he's still looking for that cup ring. 3rd season forward Dave Anderchuk is still a force out there near the net for the Sabres and on the power play. Despite missing 16 games in the 64 he did play, he had a team-best 31 goals, adding 30 assists for 61 points. His 14 power play goals, as a matter of fact, was 9th best in the league. But on the other end of the spectrum in terms of forwards is the master penalty killer and being a tremendous defensive forward all around, 14-year veteran Craig Ramsay. He too has spent his whole long career with the Sabres and is an icon amongst their fans. Strong along the boards, checking top forwards, killing penalties, he was truly the man in that regard. And he led the Sabres' powerful penalty kill to be as good as it was. Not to mention he added 33 points and was a very good +17. He possessed great leadership qualities to boot, and was recognized for his abilities when he finally won the Selke Trophy as the league's top defensive forward, an award he'd gotten votes for every year since its existence so far, since 1978, and was a finalist for the first 5 seasons. He, like Perreault, was well versed in playoff hockey, having played 84 playoff games and also appeared in the 75 Cup final. Rounding out the forward core, you have ever-popular Mike Foligno, who had a good year, while John Tucker, Paul Cyr, and Sean McKenna each scored over 20 goals. Rem Pearson lends a hand in the face-off circle. Joel Hamel also provided some depth, while Rick Sealing and Lindy Ruff add some grit. Now we move to the defense, and again we have third-year blue liner, the growing Phil Housley, who evolves his game again this year. He had 16 goals, 53 assists for 69 points in 73 games, tied for 5th best among defensemen in scoring in the league. He was a good +15, finished 9th in defensive point shares with a 5.7. Joining him, the ever-reliable Mike Ramsey, grizzled veteran Bill Hatt, along with Larry Playfair, and former All-Star Jim Schoenfeld. Back in net is the man the Nords gave a rough time to last year, but this time he's a little older. a little wiser, and that's sophomore Tom Barrasso. And there was no sophomore jinx for the young goaltender this season. He finished with a record of 25, 18, and 10. His wins were 8th best in the league. His 2.67 goals against average was the absolute best in the league. His .887 save percentage was 6th best, and he led the league with 5 shutouts. Ridiculous for that era. He was a finalist and the runner-up, coming in 2nd in Vezina Trophy voting, an award he just won the year prior. He was a second-team All-Star, and along with Bob Sauvé, was the recipient of the Jennings Trophy, again for the team whose goaltenders gave up the least goals in the league. And he also got 8 votes for the Hart Trophy as league MVP. Could he be the factor this year, unlike last season? Let's find out. Game 1 at Le Colisée in Quebec, and fans are eager for playoff hockey, feeling their Nords have a great chance this season. It's 1-1 after one period, as goaltenders Barrasso and Gosselin are putting on a show. Goulet gave the Nords the go-ahead marker 11:55 into the second, and just 1:44 later, Buffalo has trouble controlling the puck, and Peter has it! He sees open brother Anton, who scores, and Quebec leads 3-1. The Sabres close the gap to a goal to end the second, but 2 goals by Paymont sealed the deal. And Quebec takes Game 1, and Peter played very well here in the 5-2 win. Game 2, the crowd is still wild, and on an early power play, Marois maintains. Peter takes over, who sets it up for Goulet for Quebec to strike first. The Nords led 2-1 after 2, and time was winding down until Housley tied it with 4:32 left in regulation. But 41 seconds later, Laurent Rochefort became the unlikely hero with the game winner, and Quebec takes both games at home. And hey, they lead the series 2-0, Peter doing his thing, and Quebec is on the verge of committing another sweep for the second straight year. Game 3, we shift to the odd in Buffalo, and fans are crossing their fingers. In the first period, power play. Maxwell has it, gets to Peter. He's looking, and finds Goulet for the goal. It's the only goal of the first period, and the Nordiques led 1-0. The Sabres tied in the second, but 1:05 later, it's deja vu. As Peter gets the loose puck, sees open Anton, and sets him up for the goal. It's 2-1, and that's how it is after intermission. The Nordiques are just 1 period away from their second straight sweep over Buffalo. Suddenly in the third, the Sabres got 2 goals, 2:17 apart. Our hero, however, answers the call as Peter gets the puck to Muller, who sets up Sauvé, and the game is tied 3-3. Peter has 3 assists on the day, and the Nords took a 4-3 lead soon after that, but then fell apart and lost 6-4. Well, they're not out of the woods yet, despite a great game from Peter Stastny. Game 4, they now have to deal with a very rabid crowd at the odd, who's not just crossing their fingers anymore. They believe this can happen. This time, however, the first period is winding down and there's nobody on the board, but hey, here we go. Power play. Marois controls. Peter then steers it to Goulet, and Quebec leads 1-0 after 1. The Sabres are tied early in the next period, with just under 5 minutes left in the frame. Hunter gets the puck around to Peter, who sees his man open. It's Goulet. It's 2-1 Quebec. The Sabres, however, quickly tie it, but Quebec quickly gets the lead back, leading 3-2 after 2. But again, they fall apart. 3 goals and 7-18 by the Sabres in the third. And Quebec does close the gap a bit, but they still lose 7-4. The series is tied. What is happening here? Peter's 2 great performances go to waste, and now we're going to a 5th and deciding game back in Quebec. As Quebec, who is in full control of this thing, are now in a do-or-die situation. It's very uncertain. Well, here we go. Game 5. In Quebec, fans still are excited and are eager despite what has happened this prior 2 games. Here we go again. Power play. Sauvé to Stastny to Goulet. It's 1-0 North, just 2:17 in, but then it happened again. 3 goals from the Sabres, 8:24 apart. But after they silence Le Colisée with that third goal, it's time for our hero to try to wake them up. As it's Stastny to Sauvé to Wesley. And then a couple minutes later, Quebec ties it. It's 3-3 after 1. The Sabres, however, get the lone goal of the second period, lead 4-3 after 2, and take a 5-3 lead just over a minute into the third. You can really hear a pin drop in this arena. But just past the halfway point, Cote wakes them up, getting the Nords back within 1. And 1:04 later, after Gosselin played the puck, Peter broke it on the open, putting it up for Randy Muller as the arena erupts and Muller scores. It's tied 5-5. It's a very anxious atmosphere until Brent Ashton scored with 1:09 to play, and the roof nearly blew off the place. And the Nordiques hold on for the comeback win, 6-5, winning the series 3-2 in the 5th and deciding game. Peter with another huge clutch performance with another 3 assists, coming up big for his team. Peter may not have scored a goal in this series, but who cares? He had 10 assists, averaging 2 a game, still leading his team in points with the 10, and his +4 was also a team best. He played well in the first 2 games and played great in the next 2, which sadly, of course, were losses, but saved the truly awesome performance in the 5th game for last, helping his team win this very tough series, and also deserves a lot of credit for getting their power play going. Beating Buffalo didn't come easy this season, despite how great Peter was, and it's not about to get any easier. Oh boy, here we go for the 1985 Adams Division Final. It's the Battle of Quebec, Part 3, the rubber match. Standing in the race way is indeed the Montreal Canadiens. Many feel the Habs took control of the rivalry since that big upset victory over our hero and his boys. And this isn't the same Habs team as last season. They're actually much better. So they won the division in the regular season with a record of 41, 27, and 12 for 94 points, but just 3 more than Quebec. It was Jacques Lemaire's first full season as Habs head coach. Montreal, however, had to deal with a determined Bruins squad who took them to the 5th and deciding game. The Habs did improve a bit on their scoring this season with the 10th most goals in the league, and a lot of the 4th least due to their excellent defensive system and solid net minding. Good special teams with the 6th best power play and 8th best penalty kill, and the Habs dominated Quebec in the season series as Quebec went 1-6-1 against them. Yikes. The 84 upset at the Good Friday Massacre, Peter's actions are still fresh in the mind of fans, and with the Habs taking them apart this season, Peter and the gang want redemption, but do they had enough to get it? Let's see who faces them this year. Mats Naslund leading the way, Les Petits Vikings, with a career-high 42 goals, 37 assists, 79 points in all 80 games, and was a +19. He's a huge clutch performer for the Habs this year, along with his great skills in playmaking, as his 8 game winners were 5th best in the league. His tremendous accuracy was also on display, so he was 5th best in shooting percentage in the NHL, with a 23.5. He played all ends of the ice and wasn't afraid, despite his small size and stature, to fight for the puck and willing to make the sacrifice to give his team an advantage. He was also a true sportsman and came in 5th in Lady Byng Trophy voting and garnered a vote for the Selke. The Habs also still had plenty of playoff experience. That included the nasty customer who really frustrated Peter last year in the playoffs, Mario Tremblay, who in his 11th season had one of the best of his career. He had 31 goals, 35 assists for 66 points in 75 games, and was a good +21. His 14 power play goals were actually tied for 9th best in the league as well. It's a huge key on the extra man core. He still adds grit and nastiness and has 4 Stanley Cup rings on his fingers to show for it, and is still a huge fan favorite among the Habs nation. And Montreal always seems to have two-way depth, but that was a big emphasis this year for Coach Lemaire's strategy, and that's why Guy Carbonneau had a huge season. A fierce warrior with a 200-foot game, and he could be Peter's biggest obstacle here, as he's an expert shutdown man to opposing centers, and is a marvel in the face-off circle. He's also not afraid to block shots, expert penalty killers. He scored 4 short-handed goals this season, which was tied for 7th. And indeed, his offensive prowess wasn't bad at all either. He had 23 goals, 34 assists for 57 points, and a very good +28, playing in all but 1 game. He came in 5th in Selke Trophy voting this year as well. Speaking of the Selke, Mr. Selke, the winner of the trophy in the first 4 years of its existence, team captain Bob Gainey, came in 9th. Bobby Smith had injury problems this year, but is healthy in these playoffs. Ryan Walter had his struggles this year, but thus far is playing well in the postseason. The top guys are racking up the penalty minutes and the goals, as 21 goals each for Chris Nyland, that is, and Dale Hunter's brother Mark. Despite suffering a severe eye injury during the season, Pierre Mondu is gutting it out here in these playoffs. Rounding this core, Lucien Deblois, Serge Boisvert, and the man who Peter dropped the gloves with last year, rookie Mike McPhee, who also got some Calder votes in his first full season. And their defense, the defense saw the emergence of a new playoff star. Again, a playoff warrior last season, playing his first full season, Chicago native Chris Chelios. A tried and true defender who can get downright nasty and adaptable to many on-ice situations. And he had an offensive upside to his play too. In his rookie year, he had 9 goals, 55 assists for 64 points, and was 10th in defenseman scoring and 4th among scoring in all rookies. He was a +11 as well. He was a finalist for the Calder Trophy as the league's top rookie, coming in 2nd to Mario Lemieux. Also, of course, with him is seasoned veteran and playoff wizard Larry Robinson, who was 2nd in defensive point shares this year. Also underrated Craig Ludwig, traditional Rick Green, and Tom Curvers. In net was the man who stunned the hockey world last season in the playoffs and stunned the Nordiques in his first official rookie year this season. That would be Steve Penny. He finished the season with a 26-18-8 record. His wins were 6th best. His 3.09 goals against average was 4th best in the league, and he had a decent .876 save percentage. He added a shutout, and like Chelios, was a finalist for the Calder, coming in 3rd. And he also came in 7th in voting for the Vezina Trophy. In this series, there's a lot of personal scores to settle, but Peter and the rest of the team need to just focus on winning above all else. Well, here we go. Game 1, the Forum is wired and ready to see a Habs new dynasty hopefully come to light and take shape. It's a very tight and defensive game, and despite getting many chances on Penny, the game is tied 1-1 after 1, then after 2, then after 3. Peter's had a couple of chances, but Carbon on the Habs defense have been all over him this game. We are off to overtime, and unlikely hero Mark Kumpo wins it for Quebec 2-1, taking the first game. Game 2, the tension builds further, but after Nyland took a slashing penalty, the Nords go on a power play. Paymon has the puck, looks to Goulet, who centers it perfectly for Peter Stastny, his first goal of these playoffs, and the Nordiques strike just 2:19 in. Then 2:10 later, on another power play, Peter gets it back to Maxwell at the point, who puts it on goal for Goulet. 2-0 Quebec leads, just 4.5 minutes in. Peter in on both goals. However, the Habs tie it to end the period and then lead 4-2 after 2. Goulet closes the gap early in the second, and just a mere 45 seconds later, Cote gets the puck, it clears it out. Stastny Penny is in the deer headlights, and he scores his second goal of the game at 3rd point. It's tied 4-4, but Habs go on to win 6-4, and the series is tied 1 game apiece. Peter has another big game, but doesn't get the win. Game 3, we shift to Le Colisée, and on a 2-man advantage on the power play, just 3:23 in, Morrow steers. Peter takes the wheel. Brother Anton drives it home tonight. Ah, yes, 1-0 Nordiques, sending the arena into a frenzy. The Habs, however, roared back and took a 2-1 lead, but with 5 minutes left in the period, Rochefort sees his forwards moving upwards, and Peter going in on goal with Goulet. Peter makes the pass, and Goulet scores. It's 2-2 after 1. In the second period, things get nasty as Montreal took a 3-2 lead. Peter decided to use his stick and start slashing at Habs players, coming to a small tussle with Bob Gainey of all people, sending them to the sin bin for 4 minutes. The Nords tied it soon after, but the Habs retook the lead 4-3 after 2. Just 52 seconds into the third, on another power play, Marwa to Peter to Goulet, and the game is tied 4-4. Peter another huge night with his 3rd assist, but can the Nords pull it out? It took a 5-4 lead, but the Habs came back again and led 6-5. But a goal from Paymon tied at 6-6 with 5 minutes left. We're out to another OT, and this time, Dale Hunter wins it for Quebec. With 1:24 left in the extra frame, and Quebec takes the important 2-1 series lead. Peter is fantastic in these playoffs so far, with another huge game with 3 helpers. Also in this game, it saw a combined 140 penalty minutes, but only 2 ejections. The Nords could take full control of the driver's seat as we are ready for Game 4, and so are their fans. But it's intense early as Peter gets a little stick happy once again, and nearly gets into it with Bobby Smith. The Habs took an early 1-0 lead, but late in the period, Cote gets over to Peter, who says it beautifully from Muller. It's 1-1 after 1, but the Habs defense and Steve Penny shut everything down going forward, and Peter couldn't get anything going this time. Quebec loses 3-1, and the series is tied 2-2. Well, what a series it is indeed, and 85 penalty minutes in this one. Game 5, momentum is on the line as we shift back to the Montreal Forum, and the Habs score nearly 3 minutes in, but then that rare combo of Hunter and Stastny power near the net, they can't get it, but Brad Maxwell does, and it's 1-1 after 1. Peter with another assist. This time it was the Nordiques defense and system that shined because Gosselin barred the door after, and they had tight coverage of the Habs players, and Quebec wins 5-1. They lead the series 3-2 and have Montreal on the verge of elimination going back home. Despite some fights, just 74 penalty minutes in this one. Game 6. Le Colisée is electric and ready to see their boys send the Habs home. But Montreal is dead focused and Peter is dead in the water. He plays his only truly bad game of these playoffs so far. He had 1 shot on goal and was a -2 and made some pretty bad plays. The Habs win at 5-2 and send it to his 7th and deciding game in Montreal. Oh man, pressure is on again, but can Peter thrive this time? Game 7. May 2nd, 1985. Both teams keep their composure as best they can anyway, with a focus on winning. Quebec did take a 2-0 lead by early in the second, but Montreal tied it before the end of the period, 2-2 going into the third. But nobody got the go-ahead marker, and for the third time, we're going to overtime. A face-off took place deep in the Montreal zone. And, well, you know what? I'll let the legendary late great Bob Cole of Hockey Night in Canada tell you the rest.
7-0 against Peter Stastny. He'll try to get it back to Price, and he does. Screen shot. Rebound. Oh, score. Quebec has won the series after Penny made 2 big saves. The Nordiques are in. The Canadians are out. Next stop, Philadelphia. Peter Stastny. 2:22 of overtime. Lemaire looks on. Penny looks on in disbelief, but it is over.
And indeed, our hero is the overtime hero. Peter Stastny wins that face-off. Key in that moment. Price takes a shot. Then there's a scramble for the loose puck near the net, and Peter finds it and scores the big goal. And thanks to him, his Quebec Nordiques are off to the Wales Conference Finals for the first time since 1982, and at last, redemption from last year. What another huge series for Peter. 3 goals, 6 assists for 9 points in 7 games. It's a -1, and his goal on this day is forever remembered by Quebec hockey fans who were around, as his clutch heroics hit a whole new level, and in this series, Quebec's clutch play as a whole was ultimately what made them edge out Montreal. And they have made it back after a long, long journey to the Wales Conference Final. Just 4 possible wins away from the Stanley Cup Final. And this year, they are a better team than they were in '82. This isn't just some miracle run, but who actually awaits them in the next obstacle. And indeed, the 1985 Wales Conference Finals will pit the Quebec Nordiques against the best team in the league who had the best record this year, winners of the Patrick Division, the Philadelphia Flyers. And pardon the pun, but long before their mascot of the same name existed, this team was indeed as gritty as they came. But they're also highly skilled and deep at all ends. Since their last Cup win in 1975, they've always been heavyweight playoff contenders with 2 Cup Finals appearances since, haven't missed the playoffs overall since 1972. But despite being a prominent contender, things just seem to get stagnant a little bit. And with the retirement of Flyers icons Bill Barber and Bobby Clarke, a front office overhaul coming, things seem like a big question mark for the team going into this season. However, speaking of the front office, Clarke immediately became the new general manager, and they hired a rookie head coach, however, in Mike Keenan. He's a 2-time Junior B champion coach and coached the Peterborough Petes to a league championship in 1980. Then he led the Rochester Americans at the AHL to the Calder Cup championship win. And last year spent time at the University of Toronto where he won another league championship. The Flyers were a powerhouse, finishing with a record of 53 wins, 20 losses, and 7 ties, 113 points. Like I said, numero uno in the league. They had a tremendous offense, scoring the 4th most goals in the league, a great defensive goaltending, allowing the 3rd least goals in the league. Their power play was solid, so was their penalty kill. It's been a relatively easy ride for the Flyers in these playoffs so far, however, sweeping out the Rangers in 3 straight, and then ending the dynasty of the Islanders for good, taking them out in 5 games, ending their streak of 5 straight Stanley Cup Finals appearances. The season series between the Nordiques and the Flyers was dead even, 1-1 against each other in 3 games. And if you recall, this back in 1981, the Nordiques and Stastny's first playoff series, the Flyers beat them in 5 in a best-of-5 series. But both teams are very different now, and so is Stastny, and this is also best of 7. But can the Nords unseat this powerful squad? Well, let's see who they're up against. Leading the way is scoring sensation Tim Kerr, a dominant presence in front of the net, quick scoring touch, and pure power play expertise. He has become immensely popular among fans in Philly. For the 2nd straight season, he's reached a total of 54 goals, which is 6th best in the league. This year, he added a career best 44 assists for a career high 98 points. He's also an excellent plus 31. He led the league in power play goals with 21. He also comes up big in the clutch as the 8 game winning goals for 5th best in the league. He's also 8th in offensive point shares with a 7.8. Then he got votes for many awards. 7 votes for the Hart Trophy, 5 votes for the Selke, and 1 for the Lady Byng. And so far in 8 playoff games, he has scored 8 goals and has added 3 assists for a total of 11 points, and is a plus 6. Joining him was one of the best left wingers in the game, Brian Propp. At that time, he indeed was one of the best wingers as a wonderful playmaker, while once a bit of a scrappy guy, calmed his style and plays with much more focus and great efficiency and discipline. Tremendous season. His third 40-plus goal season. With 43, he added 54 assists for 97 points, which is a career best in 6 seasons. He was a huge plus 44. He's also an expert penalty killer, had 7 shorthanded goals to show for it, which was second best in the league. He also got 3 votes for the Selke, and so far, he has 9 points in 8 playoff games and is a plus 6. And this team has even more depth up front, if you can believe it, with team captain Dave Hulan. Not only is he a great leader, but he scored 30 goals, 44 assists, for 74 points in 73 games. A great face-off man, penalty killer. He could cause problems for Peter, as he too is great at covering opposing star centers. He's a monster plus 45, which is tied for 9th best in the league. Like Propp, his shorthanded skills are incredible, with 4 shorthanded goals, which was 7th best. He came in 7th at Selke Trophy voting, and even got 1 vote for the Hart Trophy as league MVP. However, he has dealt with injury issues in these playoffs, but he's ready to go for this conference final. Also on the forward core, Finnish import Ilkka Sinisalo, who scored 36 goals, not to mention the ever-effective and consistent Murray Craven. Not 1, but 2 Sutter brothers, Ron and Rich. 2 up-and-coming rookies, Rick Tocchet and Peter Zezel, latter of whom got Calder votes. He had 20-goal scorer Lindsey Carson, as well as Derek Smith, and minor league call-out Todd Bergen, who has played very well in the postseason. And now to the defense. Oh, the defense. And leading the way is the great Mark Howe, a pro hockey veteran of 12 seasons, at just 29 years old and in the midst of his best years. Tremendous skill set with elite smarts, excellent defensive positioning, and a dangerous offensive presence from the blue line. He had 18 goals, 39 assists for 57 points in 73 games, and was an amazing plus 51, 6th best in the NHL. He was 4th best in defensive point shares with a 6.1. Came in 6th in Norris Trophy voting, and registered a vote for the Lady Byng. It doesn't stop with Mark, however. Brad McCrimmon is a dangerous presence as he's with plus 52 this season. Then another Brad, traditional and tough Brad Marsh, came in 7th in Norris Trophy voting. Doug Crossman lends a lot more depth, while Ed Hospodar has been tremendous size. And now to the man who backstopped this whole team, Swedish goaltending sensation, Pelle Lindberg. Amazing athleticism, lightning-quick reflexes that can make the speed of light itself blink. Aggressive angle play in his 3rd NHL season, he was a marvel. A huge record, league best 40 wins, with just 17 losses and 7 ties. His highly impressive 3.02 goals against average was 3rd best. His .899 save percentage was 2nd best. He added 2 shutouts, which was tied for 2nd best. He was a first-team All-Star and the recipient of the Vezina Trophy as the league's top goaltender. He's also a finalist for the Hart Trophy as league MVP, coming in 3rd. This is going to be a lot for the Nordiques to handle. But either way, here we go. Game 1, and yes, the let-around playoff formats in this era were weird back then. I don't really feel like getting into it, but it is at Lake Calais, Quebec, is all you need to know. And the fans have never been more excited for playoff hockey. And it was scoreless after 2 periods, both Gosselin and Lindberg putting on a show. Hunter finally sent the arena to a frenzy 7-13 into the 3rd, but just under 7 minutes left to play in regulation, McCrimmon tied it. We're off to overtime, and well, the Nords have been doing quite well in overtime in these playoffs. Will they this time? Well, 6:20 in, the Flyers coughed up the puck in the neutral zone to Goulet, who quickly passed to Peter, who was going in fast by the blue line, but rather going on goal. He fooled Lindberg with a booming shot and scores another overtime goal for Peter Stastny. Wow, coming up in the clutch yet again for the 2nd straight game. Our hero is the hero yet again. And the Nords take Game 1 in epic fashion. Game 2, the Flyers are actually going to be without Tim Kerr now for the rest of the series. The Nordiques need to capitalize on this as tension boils over. It's a very heated affair. Poulin and the Flyers defense handcuff Peter. He gets nothing going this game. It's a -2. The Flyers took a 3-0 lead and end up winning 4-2 to tie the series at 1-1. This game had 88 penalty minutes combined. Game 3, we ship to Philly, and the Flyers take a 1-0 lead, 12-13 in. But just a mere 21 seconds later, Anton to Peter to Tote with the goal, and it's 1-1. Ashton put the Nords up 2-1 after 1. The Flyers but Bartek Gosselin going forward, and Quebec loses 4-2 and now trails the series 2-1. Oh boy. Game 4, we're still in Philly, and the Nords are feeling the heat. The Flyers have now lost McCrimmon now for the rest of the series, and then Quebec, again, needs to really jump on this sort of thing. And it looked good early on. Quebec led 2-0 after 1 and led 3-2 after 2. Markel tied the game, however, early in the third, but just 1:24 later. Here they come again. Peter to Anton to Cote. And Quebec regains the lead at 4-3. The Nords are protecting their lead with 7:23 to play on a power play. Goulet keeps it on the wing, getting it to Peter, who can't find the opening, so he makes a whip pass to Maxwell, who booms it in on goal. 5-3 Quebec leads, and that's how it stays. And we got a series here deadlocked at 2-2. Game 5 back at Lake Olysee, and the roof is ready to blow off the building before the game even starts. After a scoreless first period, Sauvé scored the only goal of the second, and Quebec leads 1-0 after 2. Then the Flyers get one a minute into the third to tie it. Peter can't get anything going. He's being followed like a shadow by Poulin, and the Flyers score with 5 minutes to play, and Quebec loses 2-1. They now trail the series 3-2 and are facing elimination. Game 6 back at the Spectrum, neither Peter or any of the team could get anything going. They only managed 15 shots on goal. None of them came from Peter, as the Flyers' defense and tight coverage game ended the Nordiques season. Like I said, Peter didn't register a shot, not just in this game, the last 2 games. The Flyers win it 3-0 and win the series in 6, ending Quebec's dreams of Stanley Cup glory. It wasn't Peter's best series, but you can't lay all the blame on him. It's not to say he played terribly by any means. He had another big OT winner in Game 1 and had that great performance in an important Game 4. The Flyers just seemed to read him like a book in Games 5 and 6. In total, he had a goal, 3 assists for 4 points, and was a -1. As Quebec's big guns were mostly disarmed in this series, not just him. Peter and his boys, however, need not be ashamed. They simply just lost to a better team here. But now, the Nords fans and themselves will be more eager than ever for Stanley Cup glory, getting as close as they were this year. However, the Flyers went on to lose the Stanley Cup final to the Oilers in 5 games. Peter was tremendous in his playoff run, much like he was in '82, and often does play well no matter how long or short his team's playoff journeys may be. After the playoffs were finished, he was still ranked 7th overall in scoring, with 4 goals, 19 assists for 23 points. And by the way, his 19 assists were 4th best, and just in 18 games. Goulet was actually 9th in playoff scoring. Many see this as another sign of growth for our hero, as well as Quebec as a whole, and that their time could very well come soon. Now, we go back and look at Peter's season. In the 1984-85 season, Peter Stastny scored 32 goals for 68 assists for 100 points in 75 games, missing 5. And brother Anton was his main man again this year. Anton helped out brother Peter, assisting on 10 of his 32 goals, close to a third. Peter in turn set up Anton 19 times, literally half of the 38 that Anton scored that year. The two collaborated on 10 assists together, and in total, 39 different goals the two worked together to produce. Also 10 assist collaborations was another man that Peter actually had tremendous chemistry with this season. That is Jean-François Sauvé. Peter again also clicked well with Goulet, setting him up for 17 goals, and also worked well with Cote in certain situations, as well as defensemen Norm Rochefort and Brad Maxwell. He also had good chemistry with Bruce Bell and with brother Marion when he was healthy. However, this year, he finally worked with Dale Hunter a bit. Despite these two being teammates for 5 seasons now, they were very rarely, if ever, shifted together. And this year, they made the most of it. For the first time in his 5 seasons in the NHL, Peter did not make the top 10 in league scoring. However, he did make the top 10 for the 5th straight season in assists, coming in 6th with 68, just 1 ahead of Chicago Blackhawks superstar Denis Savard, and 5 back of Bernie Federico of the Blues at 5th. 9 out of 10 Hall of Famers on this list. Now, Peter, throughout his career so far, has come up in the clutch quite often for his club, and of course that was evidenced in the playoffs. But in the regular season, he had 9 game-winning goals, was tied for 3rd best in the league with Ilka Sinisalo of the Flyers, and just 2 back of Cap superstar Mike Gardner in 2nd, and 4 back of league leader Yari Curry of the Oilers. Also, this season, Peter didn't register any votes for any awards. And indeed another huge year for Peter Stastny. But crazy to think that his numbers across the board in scoring were all career lows. And that's not a critique. If you play 5 seasons of NHL hockey in any era, and 100 points is your lowest total to date, That's pretty damn good. And indeed, however, it is his first year with any award votes, and he also didn't play in the All-Star game for the first time. But regardless, he still led his way for the team, and led his team in scoring for the 4th time in 5 seasons. He's also a good plus 21. But the way he started the season was epic, winning the Canada Cup, his 3rd international title to go with his 2 World Championship golds. But his work in this playoff run was outstanding, as his clutch heroics were brilliant. The unforgettable series-winning overtime goal against the Habs still talked about among Quebec City hockey fans to this day, and getting redemption for what happened in 1984. And another OT winner in the conference finals, 7th in playoff scoring. Peter is still among the best in the league, and with Quebec's deep playoff run, hope grows among the fans of Quebec, as well as the media, and Peter and his teammates feel it too. Next season, we will see more greatness from Peter the Great. But that'll be in part 6, and that does it now for part 5 of our look at the great Peter Stastny. In the meantime, please like and share the video, subscribe to the channel, and until the next one, I'll see ya.